Where the world ends, a spiritual journey begins. Bathed in the ashes of the cremation ground, staring death in the eye. These are not lunatics. They are the Aghori, devotees of that form of Shiva who exists beyond this world. The form called Aghor. Where an ordinary man trembles, the Aghori sits deep in meditation. They meditate on corpses, destroy fear, and attain Shiva. But who are they? Are they really cannibals? Do they practice black magic? Or are they insane or supremely enlightened? This documentary will uncover the untold truth about Aghoris. Aghori sadhus belong to one of the most mysterious and extreme branches of Indian tantric practice. Their identity is distinct from ordinary ascetics. They not only live away from society, but also reject its rules and boundaries. In India, their most famous dwelling place is the Manikarnika Ghat in Kashi, Varanasi, where funeral pyres burn 24 hours a day. Aghoris believe that death is the ultimate truth, and to face this truth, they choose to live in cremation grounds. They smear the ashes of the dead on their bodies, not as a sign of fear or superstition, but as a reminder of worldly detachment and the impermanence of the human body. Aghoris see every stage of life as a form of Lord Shiva. For this reason, they do not bind themselves to traditional dietary restrictions. They eat whatever they get, whether it is fruits and vegetables or meat. Some Aghoris, in special tantric practices, use a bowl made from a human skull, called a kapal, to consume food or drink. For them, it symbolizes the fierce Bhairava form of Shiva. They sometimes use cannabis or other intoxicants, but never for pleasure or addiction. Instead, they use them as tools to reach deeper states of meditation. For Aghoris, clothing is not essential. Some live completely naked, while others wear black or simple garments. To them, the body is merely a vessel, not an instrument for prestige or display. In Aghori practice, physical relations are not considered taboo. They see it as part of the cosmic flow of energy and tantra, never for lust or sensual indulgence, but as a part of higher tantric experiments. To society, Aghoris have often been a subject of fear or curiosity. Their practices, lifestyle, and worldview are so different from common people that they are often misunderstood. But the truth is, Aghoris are neither mad nor dangerous. They simply walk the path that society has abandoned, and that very path in their eyes brings them closest to their revered Lord Shiva. Becoming an Aghori does not happen overnight. It is a long mental, physical, and spiritual journey where the seeker must leave behind society, relationships, attachments, and even the very identity of the body. The process begins with the guru's permission and initiation. Every Aghori has a guru who grants approval and guidance to walk this difficult path. The guru first ensures that the seeker is mentally and emotionally ready for this journey. To become an Aghori requires not just courage, but complete dedication and self-control. After initiation, the first trial is the test of renunciation. The seeker must abandon normal food, clothing, a comfortable life, and all social ties. In the early stages, the seeker lives in solitude, in forests, mountains, or places like cremation grounds. There, they practice meditation, mantra chanting, and exercises to control the body and mind. The most challenging stage comes when the seeker must live in the cremation ground. Witnessing and accepting death, corpses, and the end of life is the essence of Aghori practice. Here, the seeker learns to free themselves from all emotions like fear, disgust, and shame. They smear the ashes of the dead on their body, a symbol that they no longer fear death, but see it as a manifestation of Lord Shiva. When the guru feels the seeker is now fully prepared, they grant them complete initiation into the Aghori path. From that moment, the seeker is called an Aghori. After initiation, for an Aghori there is no caste, religion, gender, or any other division. Their only identity is a devotee of Shiva. Becoming an Aghori is not easy. It is not merely a way of living, but a deep practice of transcending the fear of death and breaking the limits of the self. This path is not for everyone, but those who choose it are making a deep and powerful attempt to rise beyond this world. The most mysterious and controversial practice of Aghori Sadhana is Shava Sadhana, the meditation with a corpse. This is not a symbolic ritual, but an intense tantric act performed with a real dead body. The purpose of this sadhana is to completely eliminate the fear of death. Aghoris believe that as long as a seeker fears death, he cannot reach the supreme form of Lord Shiva. Shava Sadhana is usually performed at night, especially on a new moon or full moon, as these times are considered extremely powerful for tantric practices. In this process, the Aghori chooses a fresh corpse and treats it as sacred. He sits upon it, chanting mantras and meditating. This is done in the most quiet and isolated part of the cremation ground, such as the southern end of Manikarnika Ghat, where ordinary people never go. During this ritual, the Aghori follows specific tantric methods, using mantras, hand gestures, fire offerings, and sometimes special sacred ash. The core test of Shava Sadhana is seeing the corpse purely as a medium, a tool through which the seeker destroys inner fear, desire, anger, and attachment. Many times during this practice, the seeker experiences mental visions, sounds, and images that could disturb an ordinary person. But the Aghori faces all of this without fear, without movement, with only focus and complete self-control. At the end of the ritual, the Aghori prays for the peace of the departed soul and then quietly leaves the place. No evidence is left behind, and no discussion follows. Shava Sadhana is not an act of display or superstition. It is a rare, difficult, and highly esoteric practice performed only by those who have completely renounced the body, emotions, and all social boundaries. For the Aghoris, death is neither an end nor something impure. It is a doorway through which the soul merges into the very form of Lord Shiva. Aghori sadhus see life and death as two sides of the same coin. That is why their most important place of practice is the cremation ground. Kashi's Manikarnika Ghat, where the funeral pyres burn endlessly day and night, is like a living laboratory for the Aghoris, where they witness death every moment. The cremation ground is a place where every human becomes equal. There is no caste, no status, no wealth. Everything turns to ash in the fire of the pyre. Aghoris base their spiritual practice on this absolute experience of equality. The cremation ground constantly reminds them that the body is mortal, and only the soul is the ultimate truth. For those who see death as the end, this place can be frightening. But for the Aghoris, the cremation ground is a gateway that leads them toward liberation from worldly illusion. They believe that the energy of death, when properly controlled, can elevate a person to higher tantric states. During cremation ground practices, Aghoris are usually active only at night, as night is considered favorable for tantra and energy work. The nights of the new moon and full moon hold special significance. The practices performed in the cremation ground are extremely secretive. Aghoris never display their rituals publicly, nor do they promote them. The cremation ground is not only their refuge, but also a spiritual laboratory where fear, attachment, and the limitations of body and mind are tested. For ordinary people, the cremation ground is the final destination. But for Aghoris, it is the beginning of their sadhana. Here, they tame the fear of death and slowly transform it into self-realization. For them, the cremation ground is not a temple, but a stage where the distance between the soul and Shiva disappears. The image of an Aghori sadhu is often associated with men, but the question is, can women also become Aghoris? The answer is yes. Although rare, there have been women in India who have renounced household life, social identity, and even the limitations of the female body to embrace Aghor sadhana. These women Aghoris must undergo the same intense penance, cremation ground dwelling, and Shav sadhanas as male Aghoris. If a woman chooses this path, she can attain the same energy, power, and depth of Aghor as any man. An Aghori never asks anyone for money, because the first rule of becoming an Aghori is complete renunciation of worldly attachments, no desire for fame, wealth, or recognition. For an Aghori, all these things are insignificant. Their only goal is to merge completely with Lord Shiva. It is said that if an Aghori is pleased with a seeker or devotee, they can fulfill their every wish. Their words carry a vibration that works at the level of consciousness itself. But it must be remembered, just as their blessings are immensely fruitful, their anger can be equally destructive. An Aghori's wrath is unlike that of ordinary humans. Their words are their weapon. If they become angry at someone, a single sentence from them can cause chaos in that person's life. An Aghori is neither a tantric showpiece nor a frightening shadow. They are practitioners working at the highest levels of consciousness, capable of giving love and capable of giving wrath. Yet both are only as per the will of Shiva. The origin of the Aghori tradition is usually linked to Lord Shiva, who is considered the embodiment of the Aghor form. The word Aghor means that which is not cruel, that which is without fear. From this perspective, Aghori sadhana represents that state of Shiva consciousness, which sees life and death with equal vision. Historically, the credit for giving a distinct form to the Aghori tradition goes to Baba Kinaram, who appeared in the 17th century in Chanduli, in the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh. He is considered the founder of the Aghor tradition. His works, such as Viveksar and Rahasar, are still studied today as fundamental texts of Aghor sadhana. Baba Kinaram brought Aghor principles to the common people and showed that the Aghori way of life is not limited to cremation grounds or tantric rituals. It is also a path of compassion, service, and self-realization. Some scholars believe that the Aghori tradition evolved from the branches of the Kapalika, Pashupata, and Nath sects, which were also deeply influenced by Shaivism and tantric practices. Therefore, the Aghori tradition is not considered a separate religion, but rather a unique and intense path within Shaivism, one that seeks to transcend illusion and death. Even today, Manikarnika Ghat in Varanasi remains the main center for Aghori practitioners. This tradition continues to survive in a few specific regions of India, particularly in North India, Nepal, and along the Himalayan borders. The origin of the Aghori tradition is not a mysterious legend, but rather a continuous flow of a spiritual practice thousands of years old, one that still flows beyond the bounds of time. It is a tradition that teaches us the greatest way to overcome fear is to face it directly. The very foundation of the Aghori path rests upon Tantra. But here the meaning of Tantra is different from the misconceptions held by the general public. The word Tantra means expansion and the instrumental control of energy. Aghoris view Tantra as a scientific method that enables a person to gain mastery over their body, mind, and consciousness. In Aghori Sadhana, Tantra is not used merely for acquiring power, but for eradicating the darkness within oneself. They use tantric mantras, yantras, and mudras, but never for public display or to perform miracles. Aghori sadhus particularly engage in Shakti Sadhana, Bhairav Sadhana, and sometimes Kali worship. They believe that all the powers of the universe operate through these forms. In certain tantric practices, Aghoris may use symbols like corpses, ash, and human skulls, as each represents impermanence and death. The Aghori's goal is to uproot fear, attachment, and desire from within. For an Aghori, Tantra is a medium of power, but not power for indulgence or dominance. Rather, it is power for self-realization and union with Shiva. This path demands intense penance, mental discipline, and the guidance of a guru. Even the slightest deviation can lead the practitioner astray, mentally and spiritually. Tantra is the very core of Aghori practice, but it is not the worship of dark or evil forces. It is a profound, scientific, and self-transformative path. For Aghoris, Tantra is only the means. The final destination is absolute oneness with Shiva. When it comes to Aghori sadhus, people's minds are often filled with fear and misconceptions. They are frequently portrayed as cannibals, addicts, or occultists, performing strange rituals in cremation grounds. Media and films amplify this image, creating a sensational and misleading perception of Aghoris. The truth, however, is very different. An Aghori's life is not about spreading fear. It is about self-purification and the pursuit of truth. They embrace what society calls impure or untouchable, such as cremation grounds, ash from the dead, and human skulls, to prove that in the universe nothing is inherently impure. Another common myth is that Aghoris are enemies of society. In reality, they often perform the final rites for unclaimed bodies, clean the cremation ghats, and feed the needy, quietly, without seeking recognition. Their sadhana exists far beyond the fears and prejudices of society. They do not try to convert anyone, nor do they force others to follow their path. An Aghori is simply a sadhu who accepts both life and death with equal reverence. Now the question is, do we truly understand them? Or are we merely afraid of their appearance and the cremation ground they call home? The life of an Aghori may appear harsh and extreme from the outside, but its purpose is profoundly spiritual. The ultimate aim of an Aghori sadhu is to transcend illusion, conquer the fear of death, and merge completely with Shiva. Aghoris believe that our consciousness is inherently connected to the Supreme Brahman. However, societal rules, desires, fears, and delusions distance us from this truth. That is why they deliberately confront the very things from which ordinary people run away: cremation grounds, death, skulls, and madness, so they can destroy fear from within. For them, the Aghori path is not about seeking liberation from sin or a ticket to heaven. It is the gateway to self-realization, where life and death, auspicious and inauspicious, beauty and ugliness, all become one. They worship the form of Shiva that is both destroyer and ascetic, believing that until we accept all opposites, we cannot attain wholeness. In the end, Aghoris do not escape from the world. They accept it completely, yet remain unattached. Their sadhana aims to dissolve the ego, master the senses, and unite the soul with the absolute. Becoming an Aghori is not about wearing the robes of a sadhu. It is a way of perceiving life itself, rising above fear, delusion, and limitation, in search of one's true essence. This path is difficult, but for those who walk it with unwavering resolve, it leads to the experience of Aghor, pure, fearless, and infinite consciousness. If this documentary has sparked a new question in your mind or shifted your perspective, we would love to hear your thoughts. Share in the comments. Have you ever seen the Aghoris in this light before? For more deeply researched topics like this, make sure to subscribe to our Unknown Decoded channel and press the bell icon so you don't miss our next video. We will meet again with another mystery, another tradition, and another journey of discovery.